我们心里想法上到底有什么改变。所以这个是关于教育里面非常重要的一个过程。他今天也带了他的道具来啊，会秀一些这个他要这个传达的一些讯息给各位啊。Okay, so let's welcome Professor DrGlasser.
You can hear me without the. You want me to use this?
Okay. It always sounds very strange when you're talking to me. I wanted to really commend you on all the different talks that I've seen and the kind of tremendous work that you're doing, particularly in the area of operations research. It's really tremendous in terms of facilities and operations. And I wanted to respond to Professor Sakai's comment. We have a policy, and there's a number of higher education institutions, but we've been developing it. And the policy is that we don't count any greenhouse gas emission savings due to sequestration. We don't do it at all. So if you're trying to reach climate neutrality and you have a baseline situation that you happen to have some trees or forests or land, that's fantastic, but it doesn't count as a savings for us at all. But I'd be glad to talk more about some of those basic policies that we have for our GHG accounting. But I'll just move right on. I'm going to give today a little bit of a quick overview. I'm going to talk about the gap just for a few more seconds and few minutes. Then I'll raise a couple of questions with you. Maybe I should have more prizes for that too. I'm going to talk about the concept of learning itself, and then talk about learning in the context of social learning, and then talk about the idea of the gap in relationship to social learning, and then mostly focus on this approach that we've developed called the campus as a living learning laboratory to model for actually trying to bridge the gap on the university campus. And I'll talk about our university-wide sustainability committee and the specific class that we've created to bridge the gap on campus, and then talk about some lessons, and hopefully we'll have time for conversation. So again, this is the idea of the gap that I spoke about yesterday. Now for a question. So there's this slide, and what do those two slides have in common? So there's that one. So Dr. Ye said endangered species. This one's not, they're not multiple species. So it's endangered species altogether, because they're all the same species. Which one do you think is being lost faster? Those or those? Dr. Sai, which one did you say? They're being lost much, much faster. So we tend, when we think about unsustainability issues, we tend to think about charismatic megafauna, orangutans, pandas, snow leopards, polar bears. But we don't think about people. And the drivers that are causing these guys to go extinct are the same. So now I'm going to ask you another question. Imagine we took your shirt and we folded it. I asked you to say fold it in half 33 times. So fold it in half once, fold it in half twice, 4 times, 8 times. I said fold it in half 33 times. How thick would that be? How many centimeters would you say? What do you say? 2 feet. So less than a meter. How much do you say?
53 times.
How about you answer? You know how thick? We have 2 feet maybe so far. 1 foot? 33 times, 1 foot. How about you? You don't answer. Okay, you ask the question. I know you can talk. How big? Maybe imagine that you would die. Right now, if you didn't answer this question, someone would chop your head off. See, good motivation. That was good.
What am I thinking about question?
No, my English is 就是原本厚度乘上它的33倍，或更多。
So I know I have to learn what I have to learn is Chinese. But we had someone say a foot, 2 feet. Did anyone else want to take a guess? He was able to calculate it, so I can't. I'll show you the spreadsheet. You see there 5,454 kilometers. There's a reason why I gave you that question. And the reason why I gave you the question is because our perceptions are oftentimes not very good indicators of what's going on in the world. And it's sometimes very, very, very significant. So this is the difference between arithmetic increase and geometric increase. This is exponential growth. Because when you keep folding it every time, right, you're folding what you had before. So it's nonlinear. And we tend to think our brains, most of us think very linearly. The problems that we're faced with today, though, are nonlinear problems in many ways. So here's another question. What do you think this is a photograph of?
Micro.
Okay. What is this a photograph of?
Waving.
This is a question again for graduate students. Someone has to answer. What's this a photograph of? A what? Floating bottles?
Oh.
That's the Buddhist training. Okay, so this is trying to sort of tie all of that together. This yellow is biocapacity, using ecological footprint. Blue is ecological footprint data. This is affected by the state of ecosystems on the planet, but it's also affected by the total number of people. This growth is nonlinear growth. So we think the future is going to be like the past, but that's not necessarily so. And particularly in cases where we have very, very rapid growth, what we have is more and more people wanting more and more. So their expectations are increased. And the ecosystem services, the capacity of the planet to provide for those needs in terms of materials, resources, and waste processing is becoming less and less. And it's worse than that. So this should really be rich countries and rich and poor countries. It says that growth in so-called developed countries, Taiwan, Japan, Europe, we're not in it. The US is not very developed. We're just rich. Shows that population is not increasing very much. The whole demographic shift kind of idea. But these, mainland China, India, that's where there's tremendous growth still. So we're seeing places where their consumption per capita is low. population is increasing very fast, and that's where all the population growth in the future is going to be. So the situation is much, much worse than we'd imagined. We can only do so much. We can curb our consumption habits, and that'll be very beneficial because, in effect, you know, the U.S., where basically every person in the U.S. is like 5 people in Asia because of our consumption, still won't catch up with all that growth in China and India if those people still end up consuming like we do. Okay, so this is again why this gap is very, very, very big. And the relationship, what I've been trying to talk to you about yesterday and more today is